So now we're going to go over the. I just cracked my hands. But now we're going to go over the different types of questions that you can find on Cars Passages. So one of them being foundations of comprehension questions. So what are these type of questions? They really test your basic understanding of the passage. So what do they ask? Identify the main idea, the author's purpose, or the specific meaning of the phrase. Understand how paragraphs relate to each other, right? Okay, this is a big one. And I know I keep reiterating this and I will never stop saying it. Make sure you practice with no time. Okay, because when you get into it, like, yeah, we're gonna need to do this shit in like 10 minutes per passage. But for now, I want you guys to take your time, learn how to understand how the paragraphs relate to each other, right? And then you need to define a word. Another type of question is defining a word in the context of the passage. Okay, so some strategies. Always reference the passage. Again, never ever do something that you think is right because you think it's right. If you think it's right and it's not in the passage, you're wrong. So another thing you could do is use context for unfamiliar words. A lot of times you will see unfamiliar words, and don't get stressed or scared. AMC does that on purpose. A lot of times the unfamiliar words that you see will actually be defined in the passage somewhere. And remember, don't overthink, okay? Stick to what's written. So reasoning within the text questions. So these test your ability to analyze arguments, okay? Some things that they will ask is identify evidence, assumptions, or conclusions, evaluate the strength of an argument, or understand how examples, understand how examples or analogous functions, okay? So make sure that when you're doing this, you need to break stuff down, okay? You start with the claim the author is making, okay? Learn the claim, then look and think, how is the author supporting this claim, okay? After you know the claim and the support, then we look at the conclusion. So you need to be alert for flawed logic, bias, or missing support. This is key, and this is how they're going to test you. So another style of question is reasoning beyond the text. These go outside the passage, and these are probably the most advanced and probably the hardest type of questions they can ask, because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to apply passage ideas to new situations. They're going to ask you to evaluate new information that supports or challenges the author. You're going to have to predict how the author will respond to new ideas. So, how should you break these down? Well, you need to make sure to return to the author's core beliefs or tone. You need to use passage logic to make predictions. And you need to avoid answers that conflict with what the author clearly said. And to be able to do stuff like this, it's going to take a deep understanding of the passage. So, question types and distribution time. Yeah, let's talk about this. So, all three question types are going to pair in all passage. You're not told which type you're being asked. Okay, you have to recognize it. Okay, so you need to recognize which type you're being asked. Okay. They say it in the explanation, though. Like, AMC will be like, so this was a blank, blank, blank type question. But obviously, you're not going to know while you're reading. Let's go over some timing. So, Cars Passages, okay? So, 53 questions. You have 90 minutes. That's approximately 10 minutes per passage. Here's the goal. You really want, I wouldn't say 3. Kaplan says 3. I would say 3 to 5. About 3 to 5. And then, and then you want to do from like 5 to 10, right? So I don't know. I like to split it up 5 and 5. 5 minutes reading, 5 minutes answering questions. It depends how quickly you can read. If you can read pretty quickly, 3 minutes reading, 6 to 7 minutes answering works well. But if you can't read, like me, I have dyslexia, so I read pretty slow. I have to take a lot longer to read these passages, but that means I have to get through the questions quicker, which I do prefer. So it's up to you. If you're a good, strong reader, you can get through that passage in 3 minutes. I definitely support you. And here's some tips from me. So practice with a timed strategy, but again, after you've already set a good foundation, okay? So you want to practice with your time strategy after the fact, right? After you've already practiced, you know what I mean? After you know what to look for, you want to start timing yourself. Once you know what you're looking for, we want to get faster, okay? Don't get stuck, flag and return. And again, I need to do this. Flag and return. You need to move quickly. The hard part about flagging and returning, though, is you're going to have to remember what the passage is about. And let me explain what I mean by that. If I flag a question, let's say I flag question 6, and I finish the test. I've done all 53 questions, and now I have to go all the way back to question 6. Well, by the time I'm done the test, I'm going to forget what the passage on question 6 was about. So again, just keep that in mind, okay? And then if you're stuck between two answer choices, which this happens a lot. Usually what's going to happen is AMC is going to give you two things that make no sense, and you're going to have two things to make a lot of sense. One is always going to align more with the passage than the other. Try to pick the one that is aligned with the passage. Again, we don't care about what you think. We only care about what the passage thinks. Okay? So next we're going to go over some more strategies. So I'll see you guys in that video.